I have a whole lot of testimony to talk to you about today, and we're going to talk about an angry judge. Man, he was pissed off. Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Crafting and Crime Daily. I'm your host, Rebecca, aka Crafting Journey, because I also do lots of crafts. This is my diamond painting, but there's many, many more. I don't do resin. That's my brother. But watercolor, loom knitting. I haven't loom knitted in ages. This is one of the first things I loom knitted, little scarf, and cross stitch and crochet and, well, you name it. Legos, building sets. You're going to find it all here on this channel. But today we're going to talk about more of the trial of Zachary Young versus CNN for defamation. He claims, as a result of the story that they aired back in 2021, November of 2021, he is unable to find employment in his field. He's an ex-CIA operative, and at the time he was doing corporate evacuations out of Afghanistan. This is following the Biden administration ending the war abruptly, pulling out, and the Taliban taking over and just basically tormenting the local Afghans. Anyway, and they were desperate to get out. There's no question that they were desperate to get out. But the whole issue here is, was Zachary Young? Well, it's not even a question about Zachary Young. Did CNN know that Zachary Young was not charging exorbitant prices, that he was not part of a black market, that he was not scamming people, that he was not being unscrupulous? And yes, they knew all those things, but the story made it, even though it was never said verbally, the story, because it had this banner running across the entire story, talking about black markets and exorbitant prices and preying on Afghans during the lead up to that story. It gave the impression that to everybody that watched all over the world, because it was rebroadcast in Britain, that he was doing something unscrupulous, part of a black market. That implies illegality there. And did this ruin his career? It certainly did. It certainly did. He got on the stand and he testified. If you watch my earlier videos, I detail his testimony. He was on the stand for 3 days. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit before I get to the angry judge. We're going to get to the angry judge. Don't go anywhere. We're going to get there. I want to bring you some interesting testimony from some other people that took the stand. First was a producer, and I don't know how you take this guy seriously. I really, really don't, because he's acting like a clown. Like, he's not taking this serious. Now, I don't know if he wasn't available to come to court, but they showed his deposition. This is part of his deposition that was shown in court. And he's just taking it so lightly. You know, I don't think that bodes well for CNN, that this guy is a representation of what's going on over there. Yeah.
There's a photograph on the screen. Do you understand that to be Zachary Young?
I understand that to be Zachary Young.
Do you think he has a punchable face?
Yeah.
So why do you think that?
Probably the smirk and the sunglasses.
Did you want to nail Zachary Young?
No. I wanted to tell the story.
Do people at CNN frequently refer to the subjects of stories as mother?
I can't speak for all of CNN.
I'm just asking if it's something you hear a lot at work.
I hear a lot of profanity at work.
Is it usually directed at the subjects of stories?
Sometimes, not always.
Have you ever heard the subject of a story referred to as a mother?
I can't recall.
What about bag?
I can't recall.
What about a-hole?
I can't recall.
If a reporter is talking about nailing a mother, what would you think they meant?
Oh boy, does that depend on the context.
He's laughing. He's just laughing at them. Oh, that's silly. That's silly. No, it's not silly. You ruined a man's career. Okay, then the next person to take the stand is the standards director and like the lead editor. And she is testifying that, no, it was fair. I didn't have any problem with it. Here, take a listen.
Coming from the Afghans who are seeking safety either for themselves or for their.
Did you have any concern about using the term black market in this banner with the story?
I don't.
Why not?
Because I think black market is, in the context of the piece, referring to the supply demand that you have. You have a demand coming from the Afghans who are seeking safety either for themselves or for their loved ones. And then on the supply side, you have people offering to help them with that. This is not a regulated market.
Did you have any concern about exorbitant fees?
I don't have a concern with exorbitant fees because, again, in the context of the piece, it's all about what Afghans could afford.
So we talked a little bit about this, but is it your job to review whether a story is fair before it's published?
It is.
In your opinion, did the story state or imply that Mr. Young was doing anything illegal?
It did not.
Do you think the story was fair?
I think it was very fair.
Do you think the story was accurate?
Yes,
I just asked you kind of about fairness, but do you think the story was fair to Mr. Young?
I do.
All right. I got to stop the presses for a second here. What is with the hair? Did she put her finger in a light socket and then tried to smooth it over? What is that hairstyle? Is that something new? Do I need to like plump up my hair? And, like, wasn't that out of the 50s, that hairstyle? I don't know what has gone on over at CNN, but oh my God. Anyway, all right, back to the reporting. Yeah, that's their standards director. She didn't have any problem with it. No. So the next person I want to talk about is Adam Levine, but he is on the stand this morning, and I think he's expected to be the last witness because they've already done jury instructions and they are talking about getting this to a jury this afternoon. But there's a big but. In this civil trial, the plaintiff, Zachary Young, is asking for punitive damages. So that splits the trial into two phases. So phase one, this afternoon, if and when it goes to a jury, the jury will be asked to decide if CNN is liable to Zachary Young. Did they defame him? Yes or no? Did they defame him? Yes or no? And if so, what are the damages? What are the damages? And then they're talking about past and future wage loss, not punitive right there. So there'll be an award there. Then the jury comes back and listens to testimony about the financial status of CNN and basically what can they afford to pay in punitive damages. That's the whole purpose of it. We're going to get to look at CNN's financials if this thing plays out like I think it's going to. So what happened with the judge yesterday? Well, I've been saying all along, and I haven't really talked about it too much on my show. I've talked about it on the lives. The conduct of these attorneys has been quite juvenile, I think. And I even said last night, I think they don't come across as very experienced lawyers. And I did caveat that by saying there aren't a lot of defamation trials. Defamation very rarely goes to trial. It's usually settled. And I think this one probably would have settled. I have to believe that there was an offer made by CNN that was rejected by Zachary Young. And that's how things usually get to trial. But so more often than not in defamation trials, they're settled. There was a recent trial where Fox News settled with Dominion Corporation, the voting machines, because they defamed them. It was a defamation case. They defamed the voting machines, and it did not go to trial. It was settled, and Fox News had to pay a lot of money for the defamation. Probably never admitted that it was defamation in the settlement, but nonetheless, it is what it is. So Adam Levine, like I said, he's on the stand today. I will try to bring you that tomorrow because I don't expect the jury's going to come back that quickly. It's hard to predict. I don't know. You guys have made up your mind pretty quickly about who's who and what's what going on this case. So let's talk about the judge being angry. Oh my word. He was pissed off at David Axelrod. So who is this plaintiff, or who is this defense attorney for CNN? David Axelrod. He's not the David Axelrod that we know that was in the White House with Obama. That different David Axelrod. This guy used to be a former federal prosecutor. He is actually been hired by Amber Heard to represent her in her appeal against Johnny Depp's, the defamation award in the Johnny Depp case. He works for a firm called Ballot Spahr, Spahr. He also is the person that, as a team, he and another lawyer represented the New York Times successfully, defending them against a defamation accusation by Sarah Palin. That was earlier last year. So that's who he is. So it just comes across as an immaturity to me on especially behalf of the plaintiff. Like, these guys just don't have a lot of experience. That's the way it's coming off to me. I don't know how it's coming off to the jury, but the judge just got sick of it yesterday because when you are litigating, the judge gives you dates that you need to do things by. All discovery must be completed by such and such a date. And of course, this was no exception. This trial, they had a date to complete discovery. Well, they're still doing discovery behind each other's backs and then claiming, oh, it was a surprise. It was a surprise. And the judge, he's like, I've had it. Enough. So, he starts out by telling Axelrod, your credibility with me is almost none. And then he starts to he lets both sides argue about this document that was produced, wasn't produced. I don't know. Should have been let into evidence, shouldn't have been let into whatever. In any case, the judge, he takes a break after that. I got to take a break. So he takes a break to cool off, and he comes back, and I'm thinking, okay, everything's fine. Oh no. Here's what he had to say.
I think I made comments throughout the course of this case about how counsel was conducting themselves, how everything was a surprise, a last minute thing, how counsel was referring to each other in the course of their arguments, had to impose a $100 fine. And I find it rich that we've got discovery being done at the same time a motion to quash is being filed, arguing that the plaintiffs are violating the rules by sending out trial subpoenas when the defense is doing the exact same thing. We have representations being made to the court that we were just fortuitous to get this. It wasn't fortuitous. It was you were doing the same thing that the plaintiffs were doing and sending a trial subpoena for documents without notice to the other side in violation of Rule 1.351 that y'all cited in a couple motions. And just saying that this showed up in our lap. You represented me this morning. We didn't accuse them of anything, of having anything beyond a security agreement. But that was clearly the implication that was being made when we were arguing about the document, because you wanted to impeach him with it, despite the fact he admitted to signing a security document. Then you changed it. We want to use it substantively, and it got admitted into evidence. And it was admitted into evidence under my Binger analysis of something that, there's not prejudice to the other side, was primarily the reason. Had I known it been discovery being conducted after the deadline, there was no way in hell that the document would have been admitted into evidence. Mr. Axelrod, I don't know how many times in this transcript, I didn't bring a piece of paper back with me, how many times you called Mr. Young a liar. But yet in his deposition, he acknowledged having his security being held by Helios Global, which is exactly what that document is and which was exactly what he testified to. I think an apology from you was clearly in order to Mr. Young for the number of times in front of this court and streamed around the world that you call Mr. Young a liar for failing to disclose a document that you have no proof was within his possession, custody, or control. Everybody here, I don't know how much money we're clicking off an hour in lawyer bills in this case, and how much credentials the lawyers have in this case. The case has been pending for 2.5 years in my court. And I made a joke, looking back through this transcript, I made a joke of you only have a week and a half to do more discovery in this case till we finish up the trial. But it seems like everybody wanted to do everything at the last minute without telling the other side that we're going to do this discovery and then accuse the other person of being the bad person. And I said in this transcript, I'm not going to decide the case based on who can sling the most mud at each other and make each other look out to be the worst person. I think it came up in the course of things. This isn't kindergarten. Y'all matriculated from kindergarten a long, long, long time ago. Or at least that's what it says because y'all have bar licenses. I'm troubled by all of this that happened. The easiest thing and the clear thing I'm doing is I'm permitting you to call Mr. Conway and get him here to testify and rebuttal. But I'm overly concerned with the level of professionalism or lack thereof that's here. I'm overly concerned. I mean, the transcript of what I read, we said at sidebar when we were arguing after we excused the jury, conflicts Mr. Axelrod with the argument you made today to me. The argument you were making when we were arguing about the document last week, you were suggesting that, we got the smoking gun. This is the crucial document in our case. I don't know how many times I've heard that from both sides in this case. Or the crucial witness. Like every document, the thousands of documents we have in evidence in this case are the crucial documents. But this was being represented as, this just fell out of the sky in our lap, not that we were doing the same thing we're accusing them of being bad people to do. And I take that as a complete insult to me as the court in this case. And you were saying that he completely lied and misrepresented despite the fact he acknowledged that he had a security clearance with Global, which again, is another misrepresentation of the court, which supports your argument that you were being made. So right now, your credibility with me, Mr. Axelrod, is about none, if you understand that.
I do. I certainly do. And I apologize when you feel that way. I apologize if you feel that I've misled you. That certainly wasn't my intention.
Yeah, well, you said, I never said that. Well, no, you did. So today you said I never said that, but that's what the transcript from last week was representing. I'm reserving on any other sanctions pertaining to this matter and other matters against the lawyers of the parties in this case. But at least to resolve the issue for this morning to go forward, you can get Mr. Conway here. And I'll do this too. If Mr. Conway cannot make it here, we can call him via Zoom. All right.
Nothing further.
All right. Is there anything else we need to get before we get the jurors in here?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
And he's reserving on sanctions, which means he may bring these guys back. He may forgive. He may forgive and forget. Let's hope. But he may bring these guys back for sanctions. Apparently, he's already charged one of them $100. So I don't know what kind of sanctions. It could be community service. It could be, donate to a special charity of his. You never know with these judges. But he's and he hometowned them. I loved that he hometowned them. I've gotten hometowned before. I show up one day in Naples. This is when I was litigating Florida, mostly on the east coast of Florida and then up in Tampa. Well, Naples is southwest, and I had gone to Naples very few times. And for me, the clock's ticking. I got to be somewhere, And the judge looks at me and he goes, because they were talking about some fishing trip, him and the other attorney. And I'm like, clock's ticking, The judge looks at me and he goes, "You're not from around here, are you?" That's when you know you're going to get hometown. And the judge in this case said the same thing to Axelrod. We don't do those kind of things around here. We just don't. You might do them up in New York or over on the East Coast, Florida. We don't do that here. Interesting. Interesting. So hopefully we'll know more by the end of today how this case is going to play out as far as an award. I do think it's going to get to an award. I think they're going to find CNN liable for this. I just don't think this is going to be one that Axelrod can successfully defend. That whole banner thing just buries CNN. It just does. Had they run that story without the banner, I don't know. They might not. This case might not be as strong, but that banner just sinks them. So in any case, what will the award be? That's the only thing we have to wait around. We know lost wages, he's claiming $23 million. Yeah, that's not even, then we got to get to the next phase, the punitive damage phase. And once they find out how much CNN is worth, oh boy, this, if they want to send a message, and that's what the plaintiff is going to ask them to do, guaranteed in his closing arguments, let's send a message. Send a message. That's the purpose of punitive damages. Send a message. So, all right, I see you guys in the next episode. Have a wonderful day. I do have another trial. There will be another episode today, a new trial. Look forward to that. Take care, everybody. Bye.